Hey everybody, welcome to Bumble. Our goal at Bumble is to build healthy, positive children and young people through sport. A holistic way of coaching will allow our players to learn soccer skills, but also understand what's best in them as a human being by understanding their own character strength. Today's special guest is a leading figure in the education and research of practice of character strength that are found in all human beings. He's an author of 9 books, including the bestseller on Amazon, The Power of Character Strength. He's education director of the VIA Institute, a global non-for-profit organization in America that advances in the latest science of character strength. He's given more than 700 workshops, keynotes, and webinars on positive psychology topics across the globe. He's an award-winning psychologist and annual instructor at the University of Pennsylvania. Please enjoy our interview with Doctor of Psychology, Ryan Niemiec. What are character strengths?
Yeah, well, I just want to say I'm very happy to be here, Kamal and Ahmed, and just to be a small part of the One Ball family feels really good for me. So I appreciate you inviting me. And so, yeah, to your first question, what are character strengths? We can sum it up as character strengths are what's best in us. They're what's best in us as parents. They're what's best in children. They're what's best in coaches. That those qualities of our personality that really help us to thrive in life. They help us to handle troubles and so on. I like to also think of character strengths as potentialities, meaning that there are these pieces within us that can help us to realize our full potential.
And how did you come across in terms of finding these 24 character strengths?
Sure, yeah. So a number of researchers before me, kind of in the early 2000s, were asking the question of what's best in human beings across the globe, across countries, across cultures. What is best about a human being? And they didn't want to just make up a bunch of things. They wanted to study this from a research perspective. And so they surveyed people across the world, across all of the continents. They traveled to some of the most remote areas on the planet, asking people in remote cultures about their strengths and about what's best in people and best in their culture. They looked to all of the world religions and the ancient philosophies and anybody that had written a text over thousands of years on virtues or on ethics or on strength. And what they found is that there was this great amount of similarity across the philosophies and religions and belief systems and cultures. And that is that there are these 6 overarching virtues: wisdom, humanity, justice, temperance, transcendence, and courage. And then under that nests 24 character strengths. And so, as I mentioned before, those are those qualities that are best in us. They're part of our positive identity. And so these 24 strengths, like curiosity and creativity and love and kindness and teamwork and leadership, fairness, gratitude, hope, these are strengths that are in all of us, which is really exciting. Some of the most, from people across the world, regardless of your belief, the way that you approach life, your religion, your thought processes, these strengths are within all of us as human beings. So they're in our children. And they're qualities we can grow. So that's how it came about. It was kind of in the early 2000s. And then since then, there's just been a great amount of interest across the world in these 24 character strengths and working with them and using them. So they're popular. I call it sort of the trifecta. They're really popular on the research level, on the practical practitioner level, and on the general public consumer level. There's a fascination by these qualities and a desire for people, especially those people that are trying to self-improve and trying to be at their best and trying to have new ways to manage problems and stress. They're fascinating to start to work with and explore.
Yeah, I would say maybe 1 out of 10 who are aware of this strength and who are implementing them, like you said, trying to use their strength, So there's not many people who are aware of that, are they?
Yeah, I agree with that there's a great lack of people being aware of their best qualities, that in most cultures, it's just not part of the the training. It's not part of the upbringing. It's not what's brought into sport. It's not what's brought into families or schools or businesses. And I have a history as a psychotherapist. I don't practice that anymore, but I did that for a good 10 years. And I would ask new clients who are depressed or anxious or have an addiction or a different problem of some kind. And I would ask them a bunch of questions when I first met them, usually exploring their problems. And then I would still ask them a little bit about their strengths. And I would come to that point in the interview and I would say, well, tell me about your strengths. What are you best at? And then most commonly, this is what the individual would do.
Yeah.
And they started studying their shoes as if they were going to get a new pair of shoes or something. I mean, they did not know what to say. And so it's kind of enlightening that that's the case, but then it's also sad in a lot of ways. And so that's why it's so important that there's people like you all that are trying to make that difference, make that shift. So in terms of people who take the VIA survey, which is the main test for understanding your character strengths, that's free. There's somebody that takes that measure every 10 seconds of every minute of every day. At this point, it's over 16 million people.
Wow.
So in one sense, it's like, wow, in this field of positive psychology where we're studying well-being and happiness and relationships, 16 million people, that's a lot.
Yeah.
But then you look at the whole planet and we're at what, 7.5 billion? It's like nothing. It's like nobody. So great in some ways and lots of improvement, more than we've had in the last 15 years.
Yeah.
But still, it almost equates to, like you would say, 1 in 10. I mean, if I walked around my neighborhood and I asked people, what are your character strengths? I don't think I'd be as lucky to get 1 in 10. I mean, I might get 1 in 30 people that could say some stuff. So, it's a great need for this.
I agree. I remember the first time I got asked that, and I was really like, wow, okay, I need to really go and reflect on myself and what my strengths are as a human being, because not knowing them got me scared. I'm like, this person just asked me what my strengths are as a human being, and I could not even answer them. I'm good at dribbling, I score goals, but my coaches never told me about other strengths that I have as a human being, and that's where everything starts, obviously, and it's all about your talent, and that's why we are doing what we're doing with Rumble, and when we find out there is more than just talent, there's kids have character strengths. Everybody has character strengths. So especially in these days with social media, I don't think people are aware. They trying to use someone else's strengths, what they see on social media, because they think that's what they need to be, and they don't realize their own strengths. Yeah, you're bringing up a great point, and getting back to that point that both of you are making around that we can have different types of strengths. So there's talents, and you all are speaking to, that's the language that's often used in sport, is somebody's talent. They're great at moving their body in this way, or they're very flexible, or whatever the talent might be for that particular sport. And then there's, other categories, like there's interests that people have. That's a category of strength. Your passions, your interests in life, and the resources that you have in your life. That's a strength. If you have like a supportive family and a community, like a soccer community, that's a strength as well. And then there's character strengths, which is what we're talking about here. That's just a different category of strength. And we see that category of these 24 character strengths as the centerpiece for all the others. So they're the fuel that makes everything else soar. So it's the character strengths of whatever it might be for any kid. Maybe it's their self-regulation and their perseverance and their prudence and their hope that then is the fuel, the gasoline, the electricity to be able to make their talent for a particular sport soar. Or maybe it's a talent for doing really well in school. And those character strengths help to actualize that talent. So it's a really important distinction, and it's not made by a lot of people. So I'm glad you all are making that distinction between the different types of strengths. And we could do that as parents as well, that yes, we want our kids to do the most with whatever their natural abilities are. That's great, and we can reinforce that. But then also, don't forget who they are, their character strengths. Don't forget who they are.
Now, how can parents and coaches empower kids to use their character strengths?
Sure. Yeah. It's a great question. A good starting point actually is a skill that we call strength spotting. So, parents need to know the language first. So we have this language of 24 strengths. It's a language that all of us can use, once we learn it, the gratitude, hope, curiosity, and so on. And you might have like a little handout to kind of remind yourself of those 24 strengths. And then the idea is for the parent to spot those strengths in action when they see their child using it. Maybe the child was using a lot of perseverance on the football field. Maybe the child was being very kind to another child on the playground, and they point out that kindness. Maybe the child is including their brothers and sisters in an activity, so they're using a sense of leadership to organize the group. So the idea is to do that strength spotting piece. And the way to do that, the steps to it are for any parent, for anybody, is to first label the strength. Labeling is really powerful to give that positive word. We're so good at giving negative words to people, right? And this person is too hyperactive, or this person is depressed, or this person's negative or bad for this reason or that reason. And again, we're not saying, so there's some good in labeling the negative too, but here we're talking about labeling the positive. So we give that positive label, and then we tell the child, we express to the child, whatever age the child is. The child could be 47 years old, by the way, or it could be 12. The child, he or she, could be 7 years old, any age. You label that strength, and then you give a rationale for what you saw. You say, I saw so much bravery in you because you really were so afraid of going to school. You thought people were going to tease you, but you still used your bravery to do that. You really dug deep to use your bravery strength. And I saw that in you, and I appreciate that in you. That was really great. I hope you can keep using that bravery throughout the week. So you give that explanation, for the child to understand why you're seeing perseverance or zest or honesty or social intelligence or prudence or humility or forgiveness. You give that rationale for them. So that's a key starting point, is strength spotting. As coaches and kind of training the kids with character strengths, is that any situation that could happen on the soccer pitch, anything that happens between the kids or any kid that brings up anything, you can spot character strengths in that in some way. That's what's beautiful. I mean, it takes a little bit of training to see it in every situation, but but it just takes learning that language and practicing it and saying the words out loud, and then you'll see that, oh yeah, that's kind of forgiveness. When that child is on the field, he gets knocked down by another child, but then he gets right back up and he takes the ball down the field. He had to do some letting go. He had to let go of that other kid rather than getting upset. He had to let it go, which is like forgiveness is all about letting go, forgiving, and then going down the field, persevering, self-regulating their impulses, to not fight or to push the kid down, self-regulation. So a lot of strengths you could spot in that child in that tiny little instance. So it's beautiful. And it's fun too. That's what's great, is you all get to have fun doing it, and the kids get to learn about themselves while they're having fun with soccer. So it's win-win.